So remember back when those hurricanes happened and, FEMA wasn't exactly doing a bang-up job. So people like Donald Trump, people like Elon Musk, other prominent conservatives were talking about how they were letting the people down. And people within FEMA and our government, including the person that was running the show, came up and said, that's dangerous. It's very dangerous to question the capability of an organization like FEMA. Well, this story came out last week that there were people basically being told to bypass anybody in Florida that had a Trump sign in their yard. Anybody that would have needed hurricane relief. Now, this is a very egregious abuse of political power. So she was telling people to blatantly just bypass Trump supporters' houses. This was a story that came out recently. FEMA staff have been in Florida helping residents recover from Hurricane Milton last month. Needed to survey damage to homes to assess who qualified for federal aid. The Daily Reporter reported on Friday that FEMA staff have been checking on homes in Lake Placid when they were ordered to skip properties that had yard signs supporting the Republican candidate. Trump sign, no entry per leadership, said internal messages in a government system, reports the Daily Wire. When we got there, we were told to discriminate against people. The whistleblower told the outlet, it's almost unbelievable to think that somebody in federal government would think this is okay. This was okay. I mean, does this shock anybody that someone in federal government would think that? It doesn't shock me at all. Now, the agency's head, Deanne Criswell, described the supervisor's actions as reprehensible, saying FEMA takes its mission to help everyone before, during, and after disasters seriously. Yep, I'm sure they do. Now, there is another part of this story that actually places it implicates media in their coverage of said story. Now, CBS decided to play their usual political and propaganda games. As a way to shield FEMA and the Dems, CBS reported on the scandal without showing the actual black female supervisor responsible for the racist, politicized orders. Instead, they featured a random white woman's face. This is the actual supervisor here on the right. This is the picture on the left that CBS News had shown. Pretty crazy. They just used some random stock photo, and it's completely expected, I think, at this point, that the media would be implicit in garbage like this. So, let me pause this real quick. This is clearly some type of cover by the media to try to demonize a certain demographic of people. Not showing the supervisor's face. Maybe that would be a reasonable thing to do, but to instead replace it with a stock photo of some random white woman. And this is extremely heinous. Do you remember CBS News did an interview with Kamala Harris where they ended up, showing a preview of it, and then after the fact, when they released the actual interview, they had edited out the part that made Kamala Harris look particularly dumb, surrounding an issue that is very, very, very sore spot with liberals. The discussion over the war in Israel, war in Gaza, and the response to Israel's response to what's going on over there. And we've been told now for the last 8 years, this is the face of the person that did this. I don't know if there's a name particularly in this article. This is a picture of the internal message. Implement best practices. Not one goes anywhere alone. Avoid homes advertising Trump. Practice de-escalation and preventative measures. Communicate Like, what does that have to do with anything other than you hate Donald Trump and you hate Trump supporters? The media has been telling us for the last 8 years that anybody that runs counter to them is a danger to democracy. They are sowing misinformation. They are sowing distrust in our institutions. Things are getting worse in this country because we don't trust the experts, right? They've given you no reason whatsoever throughout the entire, really probably since the beginning of time, if you really think about it. I'm sure they've been lying to us always, but especially since Trump's been a thing in the political forefront, they lie about everything. Everything they said about Donald Trump over this last election cycle, well, since he's been in office, the idea that he's a racist, a sexist, a misogynist, all this crap, fascist, all this stuff is based off of a false premise that they themselves created. It's not based in any sort of reality, but they just continue to roll with it because they can't go back on it. It's the only way that they thought they were going to be able to pull it off, and they lost. Now, covering up aspects of this, covering up, gaffes in Kamala Harris's interview, all this stuff is just proof that the mainstream media is just completely on board with the messaging of the establishment political class. They're all about the deep state government. They do not. The reason why they should exist is to check government, hold them accountable. That's why the First Amendment exists. The reason why the First Amendment is important is because, if we didn't have that, you could theoretically, criticize your government, and then they could come kick your door down and do God knows what to you, right? That's the whole purpose. The reason why there needs to be an amendment in there is to protect you from government retribution when you criticize them, or criticize protected classes or groups of people that the government deems protected. And the media has failed us in every way. And I'm so sick of listening to the self-righteous, elitist, expert class of people tell us what all, normal Americans who don't believe everything they say, we're just piles of garbage. Think about what they were willing to do to you back during the COVID pandemic, and how they were wrong about literally everything. They were wrong about the origin, wrong about how it spread, wrong about social distancing, wrong about masking, wrong about their vaccine, everything. And there's not a single apology even. I look back and go, oh, we were wrong about that. Oh, sorry we kept your kids out of school all that time for no reason. Sorry that we, censored people and we tried to create a misinformation department. The reason why they did that, of course, was because they wanted to be able to keep the ball rolling with their crap. They didn't care about the truth. And just like this story. This should be one of the biggest stories around right now, especially after what we heard following the original hurricanes, the one that hit, by like Tennessee and stuff, or in the Carolinas. That one and this one, this second hurricane that came through, bad year for the hurricanes. Anybody that questioned the capability of FEMA was basically called evil, called dangerous, called, you were basically endangering the employees of FEMA. And then you get stories like this. Now, I know the head of the whole thing said, listen, this is awful, this is heinous, this is unacceptable, we are here to help people. Yeah, but this is the typical thing that has been going on within government for the last 8 years. Probably conservatives and libertarians and anti-establishment types have always been censored. But now with the internet, it's just gotten more and more egregious, more and more blatant. And this whole thing right now with stories like this, it's like this is just kind of typical of how conservatives or Trump supporters get treated. And Trump supporters, if they break the law, are going to get treated 10 times harsher than any liberal, especially if you're breaking the law, on the basis of your political party, to push your message along. Both crimes should be punished equally, right? The government's been weaponized against a political opponent. They basically made up fake crimes and all this other stuff. So this is just typical. Let's hope to God things finally change. Just to let you all know, for the win, CNN, MSNBC, all these companies, they're failing miserably. They just lost the election. I say them because, yes, they did. They are part of the them. They're part of the whole Kamala Harris thing. They lost. Big fat L. And they're probably going to start firing some of their precious talent who do nothing but gaslight you. So, oh well, you did this to yourself. I have no sympathy for you. I don't have sympathy for any federal employees that get fired over crap like this. Oh, you lose your 6-figure a year government, or taxpayer funded job where you use the money that those people in Florida pay you as a way to, to go after people you disagree with politically. Pretty disgusting. You deserve to lose your job. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you. I am family. Listen, if you use your position as in position of power in government for overreach, to use the brunt of government to go after people or discriminate against anybody, you deserve to go, whether you're a conservative, a liberal, what have you. So, pretty crazy story. Check out the Revolver News story, revolver.news. I'll link it below if you want to check out more details about this story, but pretty disgusting.